Anti-Trump to anti-American. That is the subject of tonight's Waters Words. Political parties usually root against each other. When one party fails, the other returns to power. But the Democrats have invested so much in Trump's failure that they're now rooting for America to fail, just so Trump takes a hit. Here's Bill Maher.
I feel like the bottom has to fall out at some point. And by the way, I'm hoping for it because I think one way you get rid of Trump is a crashing economy. Yeah. So please bring on the recession. Yeah. Sorry if that hurts people, but it's either root for a recession or you lose your democracy.
So Bill Maher wants Americans to lose their jobs and lose their money so the president's approval rating goes down? That's sick. It's easy for Maher to root for the economy to crash because he's sitting on millions. But at least he's honest. Most Democrats disguise their lack of patriotism. Pelosi's another one.
Hip, hip, hooray. Unemployment is down. What does that mean to me in my life?
Keep talking, Nancy. You're costing the Democrats dearly. And after Trump returned from Singapore, securing a strong commitment to peace, the media attacked progress on the peninsula.
A summit is not an accomplishment for the American president, Brian. It is a major accomplishment for Kim Jong-un.
Something else that our own Keir Simmons reported today and shared with us at 4 p.m. is that both men are liars. He said Kim Jong-un lies, and he said Donald Trump lies.
This is not a date. This is not going to work. This is not just lunch. You know, it's not going to work.
I thought the Democrats were all about dialogue and giving peace a chance. Guess not. But the worst was Chelsea Handler, who uncorked this whopper. You ready? Putin is giving Trump talking points and actions to take to help undermine the very country he is from. We have a domestic enemy running our country, pissing on all allies who shows fealty only to Putin. This is not America. This is Russia. And then, I hope Kim Jong-un eats Donald Trump. So we have the left calling the president of the United States a domestic enemy, comparing him to a murderous dictator, and rooting against peace just because Trump is the peacemaker. And finally, our friend Joy Behar at The View putting the cherry on top, speaking about our stricter southern border policy.
As Americans, I don't like this. People should not tolerate this. This is like Germany. I mean, come on, people. Well, Germany back in, not now.
Right.
Germany Germany has a better record than we do.
So America is now Nazi Germany. It doesn't get any worse than that. Here to react, former Arkansas governor and Fox News contributor Mike Huckabee. So, Governor, my contention is they've gone so anti-Trump, they're now off the cliff and are now anti-American. Do you agree?
Absolutely, I agree. When you start hoping that people lose their jobs and their paychecks, their ability to feed their families, when you start hoping that we get into a nuclear war just because it would embarrass Donald Trump, you've gone beyond being partisan. You're absolutely sick. That's just frightening that people would say those things in public. I'd be surprised if people would say them in private. And by the way, you know, the old standard is that when you inject Nazism into the discussion, it just shows you've lost. When that's what you're reduced to, yeah, discussion is over.
It's amazing they'll never pay a price, though. You'll have Joy, who insulted Christians a couple months ago and now compares America to Nazis. You have Chelsea Handler, who basically wants Trump to die, calls him a domestic enemy. I mean, could you imagine if someone said that about Obama when he was president? I can't even believe it. They never pay a price, though, Governor. There's no accountability on the left with this out-of-line, ridiculous, inflammatory, anti-American rhetoric. I think because there's no accountability with these people, it's pushing them even farther to the left into real dangerous territory.
Well, first of all, there's no accountability because who's going to do it? It's not going to happen over at one of the mainstream so-called networks because they're all in.
Yeah, the Waters World is the ombudsman for these people. How scary is that?
That's pretty scary. But the second reason is because they only listen to the voices in their own echo chamber.
You're right.
There are three basic bubbles in this country: New York, D.C., and Hollywood. And the people who say these things live in one of those three bubbles, and the only people they talk to are the other swells at the cocktail parties where they go pat each other on the back for being so much better than the rest of us out here in the red states. And the net result is they're becoming so marginalized, so completely disrespected by the rank and file working class people of America that they're setting up for Donald Trump's followers to keep electing other people and making sure Nancy Pelosi does not come back as Speaker of the House.
Well, one or two people who shared the view that regular Americans are people to look down upon are some of the FBI officials who got savaged in the IG report. There was comments something like Trump supporters are a bunch of retards and just really despicable stuff. I'm not even going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it later in the show. But Donald Trump responded to some of the disgusting commentary by the FBI agents about his supporters. Here's what he had to say.
Vicious. I have the greatest supporters in the world. By the way, they're the smartest. They're the hardest working. They pay taxes. They're incredible. They're loyal. I have the bikers. I have the construction workers. I have them all. I have the. By the way, I have the FBI. You go into the FBI and take a poll of the real FBI, not the scum on top, not Comey and that group of people that are total thieves.
Total thieves and scum on top. I mean, he doesn't hold back, does he, Governor?
He never has, and I don't think we can expect him to start now. But what he said was that when there are people who are being paid by the taxpayers who have that level of contempt for the people who pay their salaries, Jesse, these are people who are talking that way about their bosses. In any place I've ever worked in my life, that's a fireable offense. We need to know who these people are, and they need to be given their notice and sent out the door. Nobody should be getting money from the taxpayers who have that level of just utter contempt for the very citizens who pay their salaries. It's beyond disgusting.
Yeah, I'd like to see the axe fall on a bunch of these people, but like it's been for the last almost year and a half, you can never find the identities of these people. The names are always redacted. You know, they put them in a rubber room or they leave with their pensions. It's totally out of control. The president also responding to attacks from the mainstream media about how he handled Little Rocket Man over there in Singapore. Here's what he had to say.
I don't want to see a nuclear weapon destroy you and your family. I want to have a good relationship with North Korea. I want to have a good relationship with many other countries. I met, we had great chemistry. He gave us a lot. You haven't had a missile test in 7 months. You haven't had a firing. You haven't had a nuclear test in 8.5 months. You haven't had missiles flying over Japan. We're well on our way to get denuclearization. And the agreement says there will be total denuclearization.
So I don't believe it's time to spike the football with the summit. I mean, it's a communique. It hasn't even been ratified by the Senate or anything like that, but there's a commitment to peace, and the political will and the spirit is there, I believe, and we'll have to let the deputies hammer out the details, but the process, it looks like the arc is probably better than it's ever been when it comes to diplomacy on the peninsula, yet the haters can't even accept that. Where do you see the Singapore summit playing out?
Jesse, there's not a diplomat alive who would have done this the way Donald Trump did it. No one. Starting from the insults to Kim Jong-un, calling him Rocket Man, and saying, I've got a bigger button than he does. And I mean, all the things that everybody said, it's going to lead to war. But one thing I think we've all come to realize, Donald Trump has instincts that are different than ours, but most often, 99% of the time, they tend to be better than ours, and they tend to work. And so what we saw this week was a historic moment where you have Kim Jong-un, in principle, giving up the nuclear weapons. But here's the fundamental difference. Donald Trump hasn't given up the maximum pressure. The sanctions are still on. And the big difference between what Donald Trump is doing and what previous presidents have done, Kim Jong-un knows one thing. Donald Trump is not a guy to be played. And if he tries to do it, he will find himself on the receiving end of that bigger button that Donald Trump talked about. I think that's one thing he's got to know.
So far, the only thing that America has given up, we suspended a military exercise that was planned for the fall, but that can get right back up there the minute he starts monkeying around, little rocket man, with some of these negotiations. Right now, we haven't shipped a boatload of cash over there. We haven't released any hostages like they did in the Bergdahl trade. They haven't brought the sanctions down like they did on Iran. They haven't done any of those things, yet the press is acting like this guy's Neville Chamberlain or something like that. Meanwhile, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, George Bush, they did literally nothing. So let's just try this new strategy and see what works. Let's get into something you and I were talking about before you came on. They call him Little Bob Corker, the senator from Tennessee. And he's not going to be in office much longer, but he's really going out with a bang. He said that people that support Donald Trump, people that are running for office that support Donald Trump, are in a cult. Listen.
It's almost, it's becoming a cultish thing, isn't it? It's not a good place for any party to end up with a cult-like situation as it relates to a president that happens to be purportedly of the same party.
Well, first of all, he looks like a sad, defeated little man. Second of all, I don't remember a lot of Democrats running against Barack Obama for the last 8 years. And what's wrong with sharing the same principles and ideals as a president who over 60 million Americans voted for? I mean, Donald Trump understood and tapped into the sensibility of the American people. And if other politicians are tapping into that same vibe, that doesn't make them a cult follower. That just makes them in touch with the folks.
Well, it's a pretty big cult, 60 million people. And the nonsense of that is that, Donald Trump got more votes in the Republican primary than any other presidential candidate in history, including either of the Bushes, Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon, any Republican ever. To say that is a cult is to insult the overwhelming majority of Republican voters and then the overwhelming numbers of people who voted for him and gave him a crushing electoral college victory. But Jesse, here's something else. When Bob Corker came to Nashville, where I'm sitting now, and he showed up at a Donald Trump rally, he was booed out of the arena.
Wow.
That's how popular he is, because statements like that, where Corker has become uncorked, it's not winning him friends. People are not agreeing with his assessment. And I frankly think that, maybe he's got hurt feelings that he wasn't picked to be Secretary of State, a job that he really wanted. But aren't we glad that he didn't get picked?
Yeah, could you imagine little Bob Corker and little Rocket Man over there? Pompeo has been a real blessing for this administration, and he deserves a lot of credit. And just, remember the Messiah and the worshiping and the fainting and the tears. The guy could walk on water. Anything he did, anything he said was just brilliant. I mean, if anybody's a worshiper of a cult, I think that's a more apt comparison to the followers of the last president. And Jesse, let's not forget it was Bob Corker who gave us the Iran deal. He was the one who didn't force it to be a treaty and worked with Obama to let this be an executive order. I think that's another thing that is embarrassing to him. Yeah, that's not a good thing for his legacy, and I think he's aware of that. So before we let you go, I have to play some sound of this madman, this correspondent out there at the press briefing with Sarah Sanders, just kind of losing his cool in a pretty juvenile way, an unprofessional way, harassing her and haranguing her about the strict southern border policy. Just watch this meltdown.
Come on, Sarah, you're a parent. Don't you have any empathy for what these people are going through? They have less than you do.
Guys,
Sarah, come on,
settle down.
Seriously. seriously.
I'm trying to be serious, but I'm not going to have you yell out of turn. Jill, please
it's
call.
It's a law, and they have, these people have nothing.
Hey, Ron, I know you want to get some more TV time, but that's not what this is about. If I want to recognize you, go ahead, Jill.
Honestly, answer the question. It's a serious question. These people have nothing. They come to the border with nothing, and you throw children in cages. You're a parent. You're a parent of young children. Don't you have any empathy for what they go through?
Jill, go ahead.
Now, I respect his passion. There's nothing wrong with that. And he has every right to display that passion. But that was a stunt. That was a performance. And take it from me. I've asked loaded questions. I've created some drama in my heyday.
What?
So I know. Yeah. Can you believe it? So I know what he's doing there.
Can't believe it.
But he doesn't belong in that role. I believe he was out of line there. I'll give you the last word.
Well, he was terribly out of line, but I thought Sarah handled it about the way that she would her 3 children. She just basically told him, look, there's a time, there's a place. Jesse, I wish things were different on the border. I wish things were different for those children. And they could be if you had some Democrats with the integrity to work with the president and get it resolved. He's put stuff on the table. He will get it fixed if they will work with him, but they don't want to fix it. They want a problem. They don't want a solution. If they'll work with this president, they'll get one. But let me give you one other thought. This stuff about how that it's so terrible, it is terrible, but it's also terrible when the government takes a child and separates him from a mother who's on drugs and goes to prison. There are a lot of heartbreaks in this country. We ought to try to work and fix them. But what he did was clearly a grandstanding move, and I thought it was just ridiculous.
And I don't know anything about grandstanding. That's something foreign to me, Governor. So I don't know what he was doing. Thank you very much again.
Always a pleasure, Jesse. Thanks.
Up next, shocking new text messages from the FBI. And later, why are monkeys smoking weed? On Thursday, the Department of Justice Inspector General released a report. The focus was how the Clinton email investigation was handled. The answer? It was mishandled severely. Here are the takeaways. Jim Comey was a loser. He mishandled the investigation, violated FBI policy and process, severely damaged the credibility of the investigation and the credibility of the FBI itself. Comey used personal email for FBI business. Isn't that what kind of got Hillary in trouble? Comey changed the law to exonerate Hillary. And Comey concluded the investigation before interviewing Hillary or her top aides. Clinton emails were hacked. Foreign agents penetrated Clinton emails. One of those emails was deemed secret, high-level national security stuff. And Comey downplayed this. Hillary actually emailed with President Obama from her unsecured private account while in a territory of a foreign adversary. And Comey covered that up. FBI officials leaked regularly. The place was a faucet. And when Hillary's emails were discovered on Anthony Weiner's laptop, FBI agent Peter Strzok slow-walked them. And the FBI sat on them for a month. Very suspicious. But probably one of the worst revelations from the report was a text message from Peter Strzok to Lisa Page, which says this. Lisa Page, Trump's not ever going to become president, right? Right? And Peter Strzok says, no, he won't. We'll stop it. The IG said Strzok's decisions were impacted by bias, and he showed a willingness to take official action to impact Trump's electoral prospects. The president weighed in on the report yesterday.
I think that the report yesterday, maybe more importantly than anything, it totally exonerates me. There was no collusion. There was no obstruction. What you'll really see is you'll see bias against me and millions and tens of millions of my followers. That is really a disgrace.
Joining me now, former Secret Service agent and NRA TV contributor Dan Bongino. So Dan, this Strzok text for me is another huge smoking gun when you combine that with the insurance policy to protect against a Trump presidency, when you combine that with F Trump and all of the other disparaging things he said about the president. taken in its entirety. He was running the Clinton email operation. He was running the Russia collusion investigation. This investigation now is completely poisoned, in my opinion. What do you think?
Jesse, Peter Strzok interviewed Mike Flynn, too.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, he was involved. He was the meat and the sandwich of this investigation.
Yep.
Listen, one thing that's bothering me, and I'm glad you're harping on this, is there's been a narrative by the left-wing media that for some reason, even some Republicans are picking up that, oh, this report was a nothing burger. I'm sorry, but your brain is a nothing burger.
Yeah, this was a triple cheeseburger with lettuce and tomato.
This was a Five Guys job. I mean, this is a 3,000-calorie burger. There is so much in here that to come on your show today, I had to limit it to a couple things. You brought up a great point, though. The "we'll stop him" text you're referencing that Peter Strzok sent to his love interest saying, "We'll stop Trump. Don't worry. He won't become the president. We'll stop him." It's not just that the text is bad enough. That in and of itself is a minefield for the FBI, Jesse. What's bad about that, in addition, is it was hidden from Congress.
Yeah,
we just
this should have come out a long
yesterday.
time ago, and all of a sudden now it's in the IG report. And it's funny that you use the Five Guys analogy, because Five Guys, men or women at the FBI, are now being referred for disciplinary action for extreme bias. So this whole thing's tainted, and the president weighed in on Strzok and Comey and all these cast of characters the other day. Let's hear it.
And don't forget, all of these people like Strzok, what he did was criminal. Strzok and so many others. McCabe is now up.
You mean the bias, the animus?
Well, they all worked for Comey, and Comey knew everything that was going on. You think McCabe didn't tell him everything? McCabe told him everything, and McCabe is up for criminal right now.
And now he's
most
suing the
people think
Department of Justice.
And he's now suing, and it's a total mess. They're all going against each other. No, I think Comey was the ringleader of this whole, den of thieves.
Den of thieves. What do you think, Dan?
Jesse, I heard Trump's comments yesterday. I watched him live, and Trump is right to be upset. The liberal media narrative that there was no political bias, that's not what's in the report.
Right.
I'm sorry. The report is crystal clear that they could not make the determination that Peter Strzok's willingness to investigate Russian collusion over the Clinton probe, which was pretty conclusive that there was some criminality, they said that they could not determine he was free from bias. That's in the report, page 3. I don't have Karl Rove's whiteboard, but I have my own notebook right in front of me. Page 398.
He's completely biased, and to say that there was no political bias because they can't prove it, there was political bias. What they said was they couldn't prove that the bias impacted the Clinton investigation, and I don't see how they can make that conclusion at all. By the way, Hillary was treated not under oath. She was treated with kid gloves. Everybody was given immunity. So I think that part of the IG report is just not credible. And what this does, though, is this is just one of many IG reports. We're going to have another one on Clinton emails, and then we're going to get the big kahuna. We're going to get the IG report on how the Russian collusion investigation was handled, and that looks like it's going to be an absolute catastrophe.
Yeah, Jesse, this report already sets us up. It says at one point about the Russia probe that they can't determine Strzok's decision was free from bias, which means John Huber, the DOJ appointee, that's the prosecutor that's looking into this, is now teed up perfectly to look into what you just said, the Russian collusion report, and that has the potential to be just as damning as this one.
And we got to go, but there's so many things in here. I mean, they have reporters that are bribing FBI officials with tickets to games and concert tickets and meals.
I could talk to you all day about this.
I know.
We
we're
could
just
do a
getting started.
15-minute segment on this.
All right. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll have to do round 2 next week. Dan, I got to run. Thanks as always. Up next, Rodman's emotional reaction to North Korea. And later, Dragons Gone Wild.
Live from America's news headquarters, I'm Robert Gray. Heightened security at the World Cup after a taxi plows into a crowd in Moscow. The vehicle jumped a sidewalk near Red Square, injuring at least 8 people, including 2 from Mexico. The crash is believed to have been an accident. Russian police have detained the driver. China hitting back in its trade dispute with the Trump administration, announcing tariffs on tens of billions of dollars worth of American goods. The targets include soybeans, whiskey, and cigars. The escalation comes roughly 24 hours after the White House slapped new tariffs on a number of Chinese-made goods. President Trump has said the U.S. can no longer tolerate China's theft of intellectual property. I'm Robert Gray. Now back to Watters World.
I believed in North Korea. And when I went home, I couldn't even go home. I couldn't even go home. I had to hide out for 30 days. I couldn't even go home. But I kept my head up high, brother. I knew things were going to change. I knew it. I was the only one. Today is a great day for everybody. Singapore, Tokyo, China, everything. It's a great day.
Dennis Rodman, very emotional following President Trump's historic summit with North Korea's Little Rocket Man this week. Many say Rodman, a longtime friend of both Trump and Little Rocket Man, played a vital role in making the summit actually happen. Here with their thoughts, former Obama State Department spokesperson and Fox News contributor Marie Harf and former Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski. Ladies first. So, Marie, I think Dennis Rodman did more for peace on the peninsula than your former boss Barack Obama.
Well, he can be nominated for a Nobel right along with Donald Trump.
So he'll have the NBA championship trophy and the Nobel Peace Prize.
So that interview, though, was so bizarre. I mean, look, there are very few people Kim Jong-un is comfortable talking to, and the fact that he loves basketball and has a relationship with Dennis Rodman, I think probably is bizarrely helpful in getting the U.S. to talk to him. But that interview, he seemed like a crazy person. He was sobbing. And
how dare you insult the worm like that? I think the worm has all of his faculties about him.
Do you remember when he dated Madonna? That's what I kept thinking about.
He quote dated her. Corey, what do you think about Rodman here?
You know, I think Dennis got a lot of rebounds and maybe a couple of them hit him in the head, right? I mean, he was a great rebounding champion, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. But there's only one person who's going to be responsible for the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, and that's going to be President Donald Trump, who brought us to the table to actually have that conversation.
I agree with that, and we will see what happens, as the president likes to say. Speaking of president, one of the most controversial Hollywood A-listers thinks he could be president. Listen to Alec Baldwin on Howard Stern.
If I ran, I would win.
You would?
I would absolutely win.
Then why don't you run?
1,000%.
Why don't you run for president as Donald Trump? That way everyone will have everything.
If I ran for president, I would win. Hands down, I would win.
Because you would
be the funniest, most exciting, most crazy campaign.
Corey, I think Donald would be licking his chops if he got a chance to take on Alec.
Look, he makes Pocahontas look like a conservative. I mean, this would be fantastic. We would love this. Look, let's put one of these Hollywood elite liberals, the limousine liberals, up on the ticket and put them in middle America in those places that actually people go to work every day for a living, and let's see what the reception is going to be. I'd love to see Alec Baldwin go and potentially campaign in Iowa or North Carolina or South Carolina or anywhere where there's a military presence.
Has Alec ever been to Iowa? I'm not so sure. And, no. Marie, I think we found the one candidate who hates reporters more than Donald Trump. Remember Alex's exchange with the press? Watch this.
I hope you choke. Thank you. Did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Answer me, yes or no?
Yes.
If you're here when my wife and my kid come out here, you've got a big problem. You know that, don't you? Okay. Maybe you are as dumb as you look. You are with Fox, right? You're the one that almost hit my wife with the microphone in the face? Oh, you didn't? Yeah?
I honestly did not.
You want to apologize to on camera? I asked you a question. You want to apologize to I asked you a question. Get the out of here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he definitely hates reporters more than Donald Trump, right?
I think it's probably a toss-up, but I think Alec Baldwin was kidding when he got asked that question on the Howard Stern show, and I do not think he's running for president, and there's not one Democrat I know who would vote for him.
I don't know. I actually think he would probably win the nomination.
I probably know more Democrats than you, Jesse. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, by choice. The Daily Show took on feminism and chivalry. Let's see what they said.
I think the idea of sort of holding the door for a woman because she's a woman, I have trouble with it. I'm quite happy for people to hold the door for me, but I hope they're not doing it because of this sort of idea of chivalry. Because chivalry is really about the idea that women are somehow weak.
Right.
And need protecting.
So, Corey, they don't want the door held for them. Maybe they can pay for dinner, too. Is that what they want, really?
Like, I don't understand it, right? What about just being nice to other people, opening the door and holding it for somebody to go through the door, whether it's a woman or another man, or just common courtesy to somebody? Look, I've got twin 9-year-old boys, and every time we go somewhere in public, I say, hey, hold the door. I don't know if there's a man or a woman coming out of the restaurant, but hold the door for somebody else and have a nice way about you. And so, look, what is so wrong with holding the door for a woman, whether you know her or not, to say, hey, feel free to go in front of me? Isn't that a nice thing to do these days?
And we brought you on, Corey, because you're probably the most chivalrous man I could think of to discuss feminism and manners and everything. Isn't that right, Marie?
I think right after you,
I love women, Jesse. I think you know that. Jesse, you and I can both say we love women. It's okay.
We cherish them. So is chivalry really based on the fact that women are weak, Marie?
No, Jesse, I think that you can be a feminist and also appreciate men opening the door for you. I think that you can do both, and I don't care about who opens what doors. I just want women to get paid as much as men. Those are the things I care about.
Okay, well, you have a long way to go to get paid as much as I'm paid.
I know. Any day now. Any day now.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Up next, Diamond and Silk take on a crazy Democrat who pepper sprays himself. Bubba keeps putting his foot in his mouth 1 week after snapping at an NBC News reporter for asking whether he had apologized to Monica Lewinsky. Bill Clinton offered another off-the-wall comment about the Me Too movement.
I think the norms have really changed in terms of what you can do to somebody against their will, how much you can crowd their space, make them miserable at work. You don't have to physically assault somebody to make them uncomfortable at work or at home or in their just walking around.
Now, Bill later went on to say that was a good thing that those norms had changed, but oh my God. Here to respond, Diamond and Silk. Ladies, he just needs to stop talking about this. It's not doing him any favors.
It's not. He's really embarrassing himself. Listen, it sounds like he may be having an out-of-mind, out-of-touch experience. Maybe he's trying to come clean about what he did in the past. Maybe he's trying to clear his conscience, is what it seems like to us. Listen, we know he will never probably be prosecuted for anything. I think that he should be in a timeout, meaning they should bring the jail to him or wherever he's sitting, just put bars around him so he won't have to go anywhere.
That's right. It really looked like he's having a come-to-Jesus moment.
Yes.
Juanita Broderick had this to say on Twitter: so Bill Clinton thinks he should get a pass because it was 1978 when he raped me, and he knows it's not acceptable in today's society. Wow. Moving on, though, Luis Gutierrez. Listen to what the congressman has to say about Jeff Sessions.
Sessions, he just loved, for black people to be in the back of the bus again. Yeah, he loved for women to be in the kitchen. He loved for gay people to be in the closet again. And for me, not to have a microphone to be able to speak to anybody.
I don't know what he's doing with his hands there, if he's knitting, I didn't get that, but probably one of the most insensitive and inflammatory and baseless, disgusting accusations I've ever heard in my career on Fox News.
Yeah, what he's doing is he's acting like a gatekeeper of the Democratic Party. He's using those dog whistle slogans. If he want to talk about somebody being on the back of the bus, what about the illegal aliens that come in the back of a truck like cattle, and they're not doing anything about that because they're okay with them crossing the border? Or what about illegal aliens being in kitchens working for slave wages, and they're not saying anything about that? See, we already know that they can't use black people, so who the next people they're trying to use is people, illegal aliens, as the new slaves of the Democratic Party. So we're going to ignore them, and he need to worry about his party, himself, and how they only give you enough to keep you quiet, but not enough to make a difference.
That's right.
Yeah, Luis off the rocker once again. Now, another guy off the rocker, Democrat running for Congress, I think out in Colorado, Levi Tilleman, and he doesn't think they should be having guns in school to neutralize school shooters. He wants school shooters defeated by pepper spray. And here's his ad.
Trust me, this will stop anyone in their tracks. It's incredibly painful, and now I just can't see anything.
I mean, he wanted the attention and he got it on Water's World. What do you think, ladies?
Jesse, listen, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. May should not be your first choice to take down a gunman, nor should a water gun or a slingshot. Okay? You have to meet somebody with a gun with some lead and some heat. If a criminal is coming at you with a gun, you need to be pointing a gun back at him to take him out.
That's right.
All right, ladies, and Jerry Springer, they may be canceling his show. These are some rumors going around. This is what we're going to be missing. Remember this? All right, ladies, say goodbye to Jerry Springer.
Bye,
this
Jerry.
Could be the end.
Peace out, Jerry.
All right. All right, up next, this is the internet in 2018. Social media is all about eyeballs. People are going to post pretty much anything just to get a like, even at their own risk. Joining me now to take a look at some of the most outrageous videos out there, Fox News Headlines 24/7 reporter Carly Shimkus. Carly, I saw this video on Instagram and I thought of you.
Oh,
I had to put this on the show.
I can't wait to see it.
And look what they're doing to a monkey. Roll it.
It's not me. You high, bro? Yo. Now you got the munchies, huh?
He's got the munchies.
Hey, my. Hey, you good? Yo, you good? You guys your turn, man. You got to hit the blunt, bro.
Okay.
I feel bad now that we even showed that.
So you should, because that is classic animal cruelty.
Technically.
Oh, in its most ultimate form. I noticed the handle of the person who posted that video. He's actually a well-known YouTube prankster. He's got about 9 million followers on YouTube. He's been arrested a couple times.
He's been arrested for animal cruelty?
No, never for animal cruelty, but I think he's the guy who went streaking during the World Series.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Well, that guy's come a long way.
Yeah, so
from doing that. Now he's having monkeys rip bong hits.
No
and then the monkey got hungry, obviously.
Yeah.
And then the monkey got a little tired.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't think that was a cigarette.
I know. I feel bad about that. But you know what? We're going to move on and hope the monkey's okay. This is a woman also smoking weed, and something bad goes terribly wrong. Now, was that because of hairspray?
This is, yeah, it's got to be because of hairspray. This is actually a very good viral video.
It's good.
It proves why you shouldn't do drugs.
Oh, this is like say no to drugs video.
The reason people post these things online is because they want to get attention. This video, I think, only got about 16,000 likes. So net loss for this woman because losing your hair and being humiliated on social media isn't worth 16,000.
Hair can grow back, though. Let's take a look at a dragon going wild.
Hey, my bearded dragon has went into attack mode. Come here. Come here. Don't you bite me. I'm gonna beat the out you. I'm gonna beat the Get back in the cage. Get
Obviously the dragon was going to win the fight in that one.
I thought dragons were like a mystical creature that didn't exist.
That's a bearded dragon, so I think it's more of a lizard.
All right, let's show a woman embarrassing herself. It doesn't take much for this young lady. Let's see it.
So no.
Okay, so the first time I actually saw this video was on Barstool.
Yeah.
You have been featured on Barstool, by the way, not for anything stupid you've done. I believe I saw you for one of the interviews that you did. I think it was with the House Party.
Yeah, the Party Bros, and they're going to be back next week.
You're kidding.
All right, maybe they'll bring a monkey. Carly,
I love that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Up next, last call.
Can we go back? This is the moment. Tonight is the night.